In this video we're going to look at what happens at the top of a sport climb and learn about a process called cleaning the anchors. We do this so that we can be lowered off a sport climb without leaving anything behind. So first of all, let's have a look at what we'll need. We're going to need 2 quick draws. We're going to need a cow's tail, our sling with a screw gate carabiner on it. And we're also going to need at least 1 spare screw gate carabiner. I would suggest you carry 2, and I'll explain why later on. So if we imagine we get to the top of a sport climb, we're going to clip into our anchors. Now at this point, if one of our other climbers is going to do the same route, we could just leave these quick draws behind and get lowered down to the ground. But if we're the last person to climb this route, then obviously we don't want to leave these behind. So we've got to work out how to get lowered down without using our quick draws as part of the anchor. So first thing that we're going to do is anchor ourselves separately from the rope with our cow's tail, clip into one of the anchor points. So now we're independent from our belay, we can ask for some slack, and we're going to need to pull up a generous couple of meters worth of slack. And now in this case, if you look at our anchor rings, they're fairly big, so we can do the relatively simple method for this. And that is to take a bight of rope, pass it through the anchor points, and then what we're going to do is make a figure of 8 on a bight with this bit of rope that we've pulled through the anchor. Take our screw gate carabiner and attach it to our harness. So now what we've got is the original tie-in rope goes through the permanent anchors, down to a figure of 8 on a bight, back through the permanent anchors, and then through our quick draws and down to our belayer. So at this point what we can do is we can undo our original tie-in knot. Then what we want to do is just pass that spare bit of rope back through the anchors, and now we've got a massive amount of slack, and all we want to do is just put an overhand knot or something like that in it. Some people clip it to one of the quick draws or just let it dangle. It doesn't really matter. We want to make sure it doesn't get caught on anything. So if you have got a spare screw gate, then I would suggest just clipping it to that to get it out of the way. So now we're on our figure of 8 on a bight, goes through the permanent anchors and down to our belayer. So at this point we can actually remove our quick draws. So note, all this time we've been still attached with our cow's tail to the anchor. At this point we can get our belayer to take. We can double check the rope's coming up, it's going through the anchors to our figure of 8 on a bight and attached to our harness. So at this point we're now back on belay. We can come off our cow's tail and be lowered off the climb without leaving behind anything at the top. So now we're going to look at an alternative way of cleaning the anchors that we use when the anchor rings are too small to pass a bight of rope through. So as before, we get to the top, we're going to clip in with our quick draws. So we're in exactly the same state as before, and again we're going to clip our cow's tail into the anchor. Now the problem we have is that we're not going to be able to pass a bight of rope through that anchor ring, it's too small. So the alternative method, what we do is we're going to make sure that we're always attached to the anchor, we've got our cow's tail. We're going to ask for some slack. This time we're going to tie our figure of 8 on a bite directly in on our side of the quick draws. And you need to pull through a good 2 meters or so of slack, and this is something you'll need to practice. First of all, we're going to tie our figure of 8 on a bite, clip it into our harness. So now what we've got is basically just a little loop. So we're still tied in. The reason we do this is because even though we're on a cow's tail, if that bolt was to fail, then we're still tied into the rope. So we're still using both anchors. So now we undo our original tie-in knot. So what we've done here is basically just buy ourselves a bit of spare rope. So now we've got a single free end of rope. We can pass that through the anchor rings. So at this point, if you've got a spare screw gate carabiner, then all we need to do, figure of 8 on a bite, clip it into our harness, and then we can undo the one on the other side of the anchor. However, obviously, if we don't have a second screw gate carabiner, so we'll just pretend that I don't have that, then we just tie in as we would normally, with a rethreaded figure of 8. Tie back into our harness, and this is why we need to pull through quite a substantial amount of slack, because it takes quite a lot of rope, as you know, to tie a figure of 8 on a bite, or a rethreaded figure of 8. Okay, so whichever way you do it doesn't really matter, but what we want to end up with is the end of the rope tied back into our harness or attached with a carabiner. Once we've done that, we can now take off our temporary middle anchor, remove the figure of 8 on a bite, get our belayer to take some of the slack. Not all of it, because if we pull these too tight, we won't be able to remove our quick draws. So at this point, we're now back tied in. We've still got our cow's tail. We can take out our quick draws because our rope is going through the permanent anchors. At this point, we can get our belayer to take. We can come off our cow's tail, and we can be lowered down to the ground. And then once we're done, undo our final knot, and when we pull the rope, we're not leaving anything behind at the top of the climb. Remember, climbing is dangerous. If you're not sure about any of those techniques, you should really consult with a professional and get some training.